going to be nearly a month since Donald Trump publicly announced a ceasefire in Gaza. And yet, Israeli terrorists have refused to follow the rules of the game and adhere to the principles of the peace deal. Once again, only Palestinians have ceased while Israelis have continued to fire. So that's your ceasefire in true Israeli and American sense. One of the promises that Western backers of Israeli genocide in Gaza always made was to flood the streets of Gaza with urgent supplies of food and medicine if Hamas released all the hostages. Well, it's been nearly a month since Hamas fulfilled this promise, and yet Palestinians in Gaza continue to suffer due to the shortage of supplies of essential items because Israeli terrorists wouldn't honor their commitment in allowing 600 trucks a day into the territory. Instead, just 145 trucks have been allowed to enter every day, which is 24% of what was promised by Israel. Mind you, more than 500 trucks were allowed into world's largest open-air prison called Gaza before Israelis launched their genocidal campaign in October 2023. Of course, Gaza has been transformed into a slaughterhouse since then, thanks to the collective efforts of the US, the UK, and the EU. But instead of at least showing some remorse on the continuous violation of ceasefire by Israeli terrorists, what does a crook and sociopathic member of the Trump administration called Marco Rubio do? He posts an imaginary video on social media to shift the blame on Hamas. First, let me read what this severely compromised thug working as an Israeli agent in the Trump administration wrote on Twitter. He wrote, and I quote, Hamas continues to deprive the people of Gaza of the humanitarian aid they desperately need. This theft undermines international efforts in support of President Trump's 20-point plan to deliver critical assistance to innocent civilians. Hamas is the impediment. They must lay down their arms and stop their looting so that Gaza can have a brighter future. End quote. He shared this video to support his claim that Hamas members were looting the supplies meant for ordinary Palestinians. You watch the video for yourself and tell me if you can spot a Hamas member here looting the aid supplies. Which bit in the video showed aid supplies being looted by Hamas? What made this thug called Rubio conclude that those seen in the video were Hamas members and not the members of an armed gang supported by war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu? Whilst there is absolutely no evidence of Hamas looting the aid trucks, we have ample evidence of gangs armed by the rogue regime of terrorist Netanyahu and radical Jews looting the supplies. Here is one example. Of course, there was lawlessness in the immediate aftermath of the ceasefire, as Israeli terrorists had completely destroyed the entire police force by murdering those whose job was to maintain law and order. Worse war criminal Netanyahu had armed rival gangs in the territory to ensure that Palestinians killed each other even after Israeli terrorists had withdrawn. But Hamas managed to take control of the situation, and this significantly stopped the looting of aid materials. Listen to the UN spokesperson here.
The UN 2720 mechanism tells us that we and our partners have collected over 24,000 metric tons of aid from the crossings since the ceasefire came into effect a few weeks ago. More people in need have also been able to access this aid, which includes food, medicine and medical supplies, nutritional supplements, and shelter materials through the resumption of community and household-based distribution services. Additionally, according to the 2720 mechanism, there's been a significant reduction of the interception or looting or taking of supplies collected by ourselves and our partners from the crossings in Gaza as we try to make our ways to our warehouses. Just to give you some example, between the 10th and the 28th of October, 5% of collected supplies were reportedly intercepted, compared with about 80% between 19th May and 9 October. Since the start of the ceasefire, our colleagues at the World Health Organization tell us they've delivered over 840 pallets of life-saving medical supplies into Gaza, including insulin, assistive devices, essential medicine, cholera, and surgical kits. WHO also supported this week that its teams are working with partners in providing nutrition services aimed to treat 2,500 children. Despite these positive developments, Gaza's health system continues to face a significant challenge in addressing the immense need faced by people in Gaza. According to the Ministry of Health in Gaza, as of October 7th of this year, more than 1,700 health workers have been killed since the start of the war.
You see, every allegation made by the rogue colony of Israel and its Western allies is a confession. Every time Israel or its supporters in the West make an allegation, it's safe to assume that it's a lie and they are planning to commit the same atrocities on others. These evil monsters accused Palestinians of beheading babies, while in reality they themselves were beheading Palestinian children and babies. They accused Palestinians of rape on 7th of October, but the reality is that Israeli terrorists themselves used sexual assault as a mean to humiliate Palestinians. Examples are endless, and all these have been corroborated by UN findings. While the rogue American politicians such as Rubio may betray the interest of America and its voters who elected him to power, not everyone is choosing to remain ignorant. This is Steve Bannon, a fierce Republican loyalist. See the kind of treatment he recently gave to another Zionist, Laura Loomer. If you didn't know, Laura Loomer is very, very close to Trump.
No. Hang on a second. If Netanyahu and if the Israeli government had dealt straight with us, you wouldn't have had this problem. They're liars. They've been stone cold liars. They gave bad information. So I'm not going to let that go unchallenged. That's just bullshit. Okay. Well, Netanyahu's government has been atrocious, and we should have regime change in Jerusalem, and we should have it immediately. They've lied to the American government. They've lied to the American people consistently. You say Israeli derangement syndrome. It's not Israeli derangement syndrome. I certainly don't have it. What I have is the Greater Israel Project that was never done, and no due diligence was done. The American people never signed off that. The Trump administration never signed off on that. That's a Netanyahu. We need regime change in Jerusalem, and we need it tonight.
The Gaza genocide has brought the spotlight on American voters and their questionable ability to choose the right kind of representatives. What we have seen in the last 2 years is that the US Congress and US Senate are replete with individuals who join politics only to serve a foreign entity called Israel. I'm not making this shit up. Ted Cruz, another compromised traitor in US politics, even admitted to this on camera while speaking to Tucker Carlson.
Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. Right. And I've worked every day to do that.
My question is this: what would it take for American voters to single out these traitors and their supporters and hound them to political insignificance and permanent oblivion? American voters should do this for the sake of their country, their Christian faith, and above all, humanity. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.